Boobies!
Hello.
And hi.
And welcome to
Boobies.
Boobies. That's right. We're your host. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Joshua.
And we're here to talk to you about an actual cult classic today.
Yes.
Yeah. Saw's got a very strong following.
It does.
2004. We're talking about the OG Saw.
Even for someone who's never seen the Saw movies, like, you know what Saw is.
You know Jigsaw. Mm-hmm. You know the puppet and everything. So
it's brought its own varied stamp on pop culture and stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely like Michael Myers, like Sam from Trick or Treat. Aw, I miss Sam. Can't wait for Halloween again.
And it is directed by James Wan.
Yes, who's done everything.
Yeah, this was his actual directorial debut, actually. I know he'd been I think he wrote some stuff before and all that, but this is the first movie ever directed.
That he ever directed with his name on it.
Yeah.
And what a strong start, I suppose. This Saw is so much less bloody than I think some of the others are.
Probably because it didn't know what it was.
How much he could get away with.
Starting. Yeah, exactly.
It's still very sadistic, very twisted, very dark, but they really don't show too much of anything happening. You get
not blood wise.
Yeah,
no.
You get kind of the aftermath or you see the really dark contraptions and stuff that are on people's heads or how they're locked up and stuff.
Or even the scene when she's Amanda is going through the guts to get the key. It's sped up, kind of excuse me, kind of like the same way they did Scream.
Yeah,
Drew Barrymore's character, and it's
exactly
really fast, so
you can't really see.
Still there, but it's
just shot right above it, like when Lawrence is cutting off his foot, Dr. Gordon, you can't really see. You see just the first little bit of blood cutting off his foot.
Yeah.
And then after that, you just see the stub.
I feel like the most blood and guts we see is just the pool of blood and the old man, John, in the middle of the room.
With the brains supposedly blown out.
Prosthetics,
yep.
Yeah.
Producers were Greg Hoffman, Mark Berg, and Oren Cools.
I don't know.
Cool Beans.
With the Koules.
Yep.
Your pronunciation is the best pronunciation, and then that's all right.
If it's wrong, I'm sorry.
Sorry to that man.
I'm going to say Oren. I would call him by his first name. Oren.
And it's. I was kind of excited to get into it because I had never seen these movies before. So it was something. It was something.
Yeah. I feel like this movie definitely Saw 1 in particular gives more action film almost a lot of the times with the music especially. But then also just with how much of it, I think it has a good storyline.
I was surprised more how much it was a cop movie. It felt just like a cop movie.
Action cop movie. Yeah. They've got, cool little chase scenes, stuff running around. It really, it does focus a lot on the cops. And I think because it really helps drive the narrative and as to why this is happening.
Serial killer and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It kind of was, the movie felt like it was unfolding itself because it was more so we started here, but then we got layers to it later and then layers and then it was almost working all the way backwards, until
especially in the last second
with it revealing everything and then you see how everything was kind of set up before you throughout the whole movie.
And connected because literally even the first shot we see this guy floating in water who we later learn is Adam and then we see something floating over his face, but then all of a sudden as he comes to and I think that we get the title card there.
Title card, Saw.
It says Saw first.
Yeah.
But then the guy comes to.
He's waking up and then that thing starts to go down the drain.
Yeah, we see it go down the drain, which was which is one of the last things that is mentioned in the film too.
Yeah, it is.
Which is really interesting.
Which was pretty much the key to his survival.
Yes.
Which when that went down the drain, he's pretty much dead.
He was dead.
Yeah.
He was dead. Adam was dead.
Which pretty much
all
sucks
along.
for him. But also couldn't care less. Kind of happy for it because he was the most annoying character.
There was one point in my notes where I was like, Adam is kind of pathetic. And then like literally 2 minutes later in the film, it was like, you're a pathetic, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, good. Jigsaw thinks so too.
But kudos to the actor because he really did make me like
hate him.
I just did not like the character.
Yeah.
He was just so like annoying and a bad actor.
Unlikable.
Didn't really help the situation in any way.
No.
Really. And then was hiding and being shady. So you're already just thinking like, there's what are you doing? There's something wrong.
What's
here.
up with you?
Yeah. He's being suspicious.
Suspicious. Yep.
But yeah, so we get introduced to Adam, who wakes up, like we said, in this room, and then that little blue light necklace looking thing goes down the drain. And it's very specific in showing us that it does. And then we do see that he gets out of the water and he's in a room and he's like trying to talk around. Or no, he's just freaking out and he hears a voice.
He's in the dark.
Yeah, and then he hears a voice being
realizes he's like chained to a wall and stuff too.
Don't make all that noise because it's not going to help.
Yeah, stop yelling. No one's going to hear you, basically. And it's this man who sounds like he'd already been in there for days. You remember like in Fresh?
Yeah.
The girls on the other side, he gave like them. But he, of course, hadn't been in there for days. I think he had just been awake already for a while. He woke up. And they finally turn on the lights, and the acting here is so comical.
When Adam's like so bright and he can't even see. Yeah. I don't know if he was like just that bad or you're like the actor was supposed to be playing someone who's acting poorly.
Yeah.
But that was also not a point when he was supposed to be acting.
Yeah, I think the actor was just bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of makes sense. I wonder who that was. I wonder how that leak even came up. He kind of looked like I know it's not him, but for some reason the whole time I was like, why is this Ezra Miller?
Lee Wannell.
It looked like Ezra Miller, just a
little
bit.
What else has Lee Wannell been in? This doesn't even look like him.
No.
Not really.
But
he's also been in Aquaman and Insidious, which I hate Insidious. I hate the Insidious series.
I wonder who he played.
Lava Chalantula.
Oh.
Lavantula.
Oh, the demon.
It's like, I think it's a lava tarantula.
Oh. What?
Oh, I don't know who he was in Insidious. I'm hung up on.
Oh, I'm like, what are you talking about?
Oh, he was a director for Lavalantula.
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 That sounds like something that would be on the Sci-Fi Channel.
I love it. He played Specs in all the Insidious.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he did. Okay, that makes sense. That is him. But he looked like Ezra Miller in this movie to me for some reason. But anyways, he is awakened, yelling, talking to this man in the dark. We get the lights turned on. It's super bright. And then finally we can see that there's two dudes in a room with the dead dude in the middle of the room.
Yep.
With what seems to be maybe his brains blown out. And
yes,
like,
that is what it appears to be.
All over himself and then a pool of blood.
Yeah.
Which, it's not the best thing to wake up to.
No, and also just how dingy and gross everything in that room is also not pleasant to wake up to. Oh,
yeah. I'm sure it probably smelled bad.
Yeah. Oh, I can't believe Adam whenever he immediately reaches his hand inside the toilet instead of the tank.
Yeah.
Like, whatever was sitting in that toilet was just nasty.
Yeah.
So it had to smell like shit.
I was also thinking to myself, and I'm glad that he even said it. He was like, "Why didn't I check there first?"
Yeah.
Because like you should have checked there
My
first.
notes were like, "You dumbass, you check the tank first. Why would something be?" And also, the heart was on the tank,
not like the basin of the toilet.
If that was the case, I would guess, oh, maybe it is in there. Anyways. But
we still would have checked in that top part first. And then if nothing was there, we're like, well, I guess it's in there.
That's all that's left to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. and thrown up the whole time. But we are getting introduced to our characters. Lawrence Gordon is the blue shirt doctor man, as my notes refer to him as. I refer to him as Gordon most of the time.
I did too. And then at some points when Adam was yelling at him as Lawrence, I was like, wait, what? And
who the fuck is Lawrence? Yeah. It did get a little confusing whenever we were with Mrs. Gordon. And that times that I would get a little bit confused there. But so we find out that Lawrence is a doctor. We haven't quite gotten Adam's name yet.
No.
But they're trying to talk about how in the world they got here.
Yeah, because Dr. Gordon especially is like, they could have killed us, but they haven't. So that means that they want something from us, or for some reason
we're
that
still
they
alive.
don't know, they need us alive.
Yeah. Exactly.
And we do also see that the dude that's dead in the middle has a tape recorder player and a gun in his hand, which will come into play. And then we do have basically Gordon kind of asking questions to Adam. And like, you know, do you remember anything? And Adam doesn't remember much of anything. He's just basically saying like, I went to bed and I woke up in the shithole.
Yeah, I went to bed in my shithole apartment, woke up in an actual shithole.
And then the Dr. Gordon is basically saying, you know, he was heading home. That's all he can remember. And then he woke up here.
He was here. Yep. And we get the comment from Adam saying like, dead people are so different in real life. Like they don't move.
So stupid.
Yeah. Which I was like,
so
no,
whack.
duh.
Yeah.
They actually don't move because they're dead. I have to say kudos to him, because how the fuck did they not catch him breathing the whole time?
Oh, yeah.
I have no clue.
Look, he was upside down too, so maybe that helps. And maybe they just.
But I feel like
attention.
Your lungs, you know, if you're laying, you'd see the back raise.
But I'm sure he's a serial killer.
They were just freaking out.
And
yeah.
he's a serial killer. So.
And he's close to death. So maybe he's got real shallow breaths.
I was about to say, and he seems like someone who's got the determination to do anything that he wants.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
And so and also Adam is just whack, because at this point, I even at this point was suspicious of him, because he was, when he even said that, like, oh, the dead people, they look so different. Like it seemed very much like a actor, like he's in on it. He's supposed to be doing something. And he's just playing a victim at this point is what I was kind of suspecting. Even though I guess that's not really the case.
Yeah.
He was kind of in on it, not in on it.
Yeah.
Because he had his own part to play.
Helping, but yeah.
And then got himself fucking mixed up. Because, I mean, if he wouldn't have been the dude who was hired by Cap to follow this dude around, he would have survived, would have never been in this situation, right?
I would think so.
Yeah, he just got mixed in it.
Unless he just then was in another scenario that didn't include Gordon.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is also the point where he's like, are there any scars? Are my kidneys gone?
Oh yeah.
And the other man was like, Gordon was like, no.
You would feel it?
No, you'd be in an extreme agony if your kidneys were gone.
Or dead.
Yeah, or dead.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this is where we finally get Adam's name.
Yeah.
And then they're looking around the room, and we realize that the clock is brand new compared to everything else. It's basically like this is like an escape room on steroids.
The most like sadistic escape room.
Yeah, worse than the escape room.
My paranoia makes me think that an escape room would turn into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get locked in, and then you're having to saw your own foot off. Yep.
Or like the escape room movies, the Tournament of Champions.
Yeah.
The first one. Yeah. And so like
get sucked under the
said,
water.
The clock is new. So Dr. Gordon makes a comment of like, someone really wants us to pay attention to the time.
Yeah. They want us to know that we need to, like, they want us to know exactly what time it is at any given moment.
And so we do have them kind of thinking to themselves, like, I think Dr. Gordon kind of says like we should kind of look around and search around, and then Adam gets in his pocket and finds
a tape recorder that says play me with or he finds a little tape.
Yeah, a little tape.
It's a teeny tiny little baby tape.
They're cute.
And it says play me.
Dr. Gordon looks in his pocket and he finds a tape, and he finds a bullet
and a key.
Yeah.
Yep. So Adam's pocket has one tape, Lawrence's pocket has one tape, a key, and a bullet. And then they realize like, okay, well, we have to play this somehow. And they remember back to the dead guy on the middle of the floor. And they're like, he's got a tape recorder. So let's steal it from him, which he was so not resourceful.
Adam? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was such an idiotic way to try and grab for it. And then like, he's like, I can't do it. These men give up remarkably fast. Like whenever they're trying to saw through the chains themselves later on.
I don't know that you can actually saw through those chains with those saws.
I would have tried I would have tried a little bit longer.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, and of course, maybe they just didn't show us the whole time because that would have been way too many extra minutes in the movie. But like, come on.
Yeah,
at least give me like 3 hours later.
I feel like 1, they were kind of set up to fail, but 2, they also did not try hard enough to try to survive. But I mean, Adam is pathetic, so
If my wife and kid were on the line, and I didn't know that motherfucker, I feel like I'd probably.
You would have just chopped your foot off.
Yeah, and I would have killed the other guy.
Like immediately.
Yep.
No questions. Like, okay, done.
If my wife and kid were on the line, yeah.
Yeah. What else you want? You want me to kill someone else?
I mean, even if it meant like, even if maybe I didn't live, yeah. Fuck that other person. I don't know them.
No. What if it was me you had to kill for your wife and kid?
No, I wouldn't kill you. It'd be a little bit harder.
But your wife and kid, it's okay. You can kill me. Your wife and kid.
No. I'd find a way to get out.
Because there's always a way.
There is.
It'd be like some superhero movie. There's always got to be a way. Nobody dies.
Nobody dies. Everyone gets out.
And so we do have them putting together kind of a makeshift with the t-shirt and the little drain cork thing from the bathtub tied together. They're able to get the tape player away from the old man, which also I was just like, how in the hell? But okay, whatever.
I know the way that it like latched onto the. I
was just like, no, I don't see this happening. But okay, at least that fast. But they end up getting it, and Mr. Adam is able to play his tape, playing the first one, and basically, Adam is pathetic.
Yeah. He hides in the shadows. It's very cryptic,
like what's being said by the person on the tape, and then says basically that he's going to watch himself die today.
Yep. He says, you're going to watch yourself die or you're going to do something about it. And I liked whenever he first started the tape too, he says, I'll tell you where you might be. You might be in the room you die in. And I was like, nice.
Pretty serious.
Yep. Then he says there are ways to win hidden all around you. And so you just got to figure it out.
Yeah. I'm sure maybe Adam had even more clues for himself to like help himself get out of it. And he was just so ignorant to the like even look that
he just did it.
Yeah. But because I feel like what's his face, Jigsaw definitely does, like as sadistic as he is,
he gives you a fighting chance. Yeah.
I don't know about a fighting chance.
A fair.
I don't know about a fair.
Chance.
He gives you a chance.
He gives you a chance.
It's a shot in the dark, essentially.
But you have to actually try.
But it's a shot.
Yeah.
And so we do have then Dr. Gordon wanting to play his tape. So he's like, throw me the tape recorder, and Adam's being a dick. And he's like, no, you throw your tape over here.
Breaking it.
Yeah.
Which is understandable, I guess.
But he ends up throwing it later with like no questions asked.
Yeah.
But I digress. And so we get the second tape played, and it's talking to Dr. Gordon, and it's basically saying like, you're a doctor and you get to choose deliver like people's death sentence, basically, whether they live and die. And now
day
today,
in, day out.
You're going to do something different, and you're going to kill someone, essentially.
Yep. You have to kill Adam by 6. If you don't, then Allison and Diana will die, and I'll leave you in this room to rot.
Yep. Which are his wife and daughter.
Yeah. Which is like so much more terrifying, knowing that, you could be left in this room to rot and die, knowing that, and like having to sit there, live with the fact that that your wife and child are dead.
Yeah. I mean, you'd be dead in a few days, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not a long life, but a lot of pain.
A lot of pain.
A lot of pain for enough for a lifetime. And so we do have him then, like, I don't know how, but he heard something on the tape immediately and starts like rewinding it back. And by the third time, we hear a little whisper on the tape, and it says, "Follow your heart."
Which I was like, what?
Yeah, I was also like, what? I was like, and who would even hear that?
Yeah, because
Like,
I didn't hear it the first time. The
mm-mm.
last thing that I heard was basically X marks the spot
Yeah.
because we got that clue as well. But then the tiny follow
Oh, yeah.
your heart behind it was like, what? And then that's when they look over to the poopy
The
toilet.
poopy toilet.
And there's a little heart drawn with poopy.
Yeah. And
Well,
it's the way that he even has to like ask Adam, like, you know, he kind of is like, you know, help me out here. And Adam even didn't even kind of want to do it. But he ends up going in there, puts his hand in the shit, and
for
doesn't
no
even
good
need
reason.
to, because all he had to do was go to the basin up top,
Yep.
where the water reservoir is, the water tank. And there was a black bag in there, and it happens to have some saws and a couple other items that we don't get to see at this moment because
Adam's shady as
Adam's
fuck.
being shady, and he's hiding it, withholding information from Dr. Gordon.
Yep.
But I mean, I don't, yeah. I mean, I get it, because like obviously this other dude is supposed to kill him.
Yeah, maybe wouldn't want to give him any more reason to do so.
And I think at this point, maybe Adam didn't remember all the way
who Gordon was. I think he did, since he threw the photos away.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I think
probably.
he was.
At
I think
that point,
he
remembered,
fully was aware and was like,
"Oh shit,
ooh, yeah, I can't give this guy that information because he'll then have now a motive to kill me."
Exactly. Yeah.
Knowing that I caught him potentially cheating.
It has all the photographic evidence.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right.
But then they hand out the saws and they start sawing away, but not for long.
Because it's not really cutting through any part of the chain. And then we get a realization from Dr. Gordon that these saws aren't meant for the chains.
Yep.
They're meant for our feet.
He doesn't want us to cut through the chains. He wants us to cut through our feet.
Which is like, wouldn't that be your leg, not your foot? But he's a doctor, not me.
I mean, I guess you could chop off like half of your foot and then like slide it out.
Really low.
Yeah. Like on the arch, maybe. And then you'd be able to maybe get you'd have to cut it off right above the heel.
Yeah, you have to cut a lot of that hoe off to like get it out.
To actually get it out. Yep.
You couldn't even just like,
And Adam's saw broke too, so he couldn't really saw for much longer. But
the teeth weren't working.
Anyways.
But we also get kind of like a realization from Dr. Gordon, and he's like, wait, I know who this might be.
Yep.
And we get a little bit of a flashback to information now that we're receiving from basically the narrative point of Dr. Gordon.
Yep. And we're going through all the murders now we're getting like a little flash of each murder, kind of a little sneak peek of all of them. The first one starts out with this man who had to climb through barbed wire and like razors and stuff to get out, and because he had unfortunately tried to complete suicide or to unalive himself. With a razor, probably trigger warning, sorry, that's too late, but
it's already happened.
But a few weeks earlier or a month earlier or so, and then he was like, if you really want to die, then do nothing. But if you want to live, you can get out of here.
Yeah.
And they were saying that he was cut so deep that there was like traces of stomach acid on the floor.
Yeah.
Which
is
just
painful, like, with barbed wire.
Just cutting into his stomach and stuff. Ouch. Ouch, ouch,
Definitely
ouch,
not
ouch.
comfortable. And also just like a really torturous way to go out.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then the way that we do get the shot of him, like, struggling to try to fight for his life to get through. But he was only given 2 hours, and he was then when he didn't make it in time, then left to die in this room that had, like, I guess, like, poison, then, like, right?
Yeah, and I think his body was just cut up
it. He was
that he bled out. Actually, yeah, he bled out, I think was what.
Yeah, he died from massive blood loss.
Yeah. And and then Jigsaw had also said the line, like, how much blood will you shed to stay alive, which was pretty good.
Yep, because he got a tape. And then apparently the reason we call this murderer Jigsaw is because he has been called and dubbed that by the media because he cuts out like a jigsaw puzzle of the flesh from his victims.
Yep. And then I guess he keeps that What if he makes a little
necklace, little charm bracelet?
Yeah. Or his own little skin puzzle.
Yeah, I was about to say a little quilt.
Ew.
That'd be cute.
Skin puzzle.
And an American quilt. An American quilt.
Aww.
And so that's whenever we have the police kind of then talking about the case, and then we have them linking it to the Jigsaw killer, and then we have them finding or going back to another crime scene, a whole situation where was the dude's name Mark.
Yes.
Also got a tape from Jigsaw, and his whole deal was like he was lathered in this what's it called when something is could catch on fire? Flammable substance. Like petroleum jelly, it looked like. And
it was very thick.
Yeah, and there was a safe in the middle of the room, and he was given a poison, and the antidote was in the safe. But the whole deal was that like there were numbers written all over the walls, and the combination is written on the wall, but obviously when you have a million numbers on the wall, it's hard to do
because the entire room was just lined floor to ceiling with numbers,
and the lights are off, and he has to use a candle to try to find that number.
But mind you, also still covered in that highly flammable substance.
The floor is covered in glass.
Yeah.
So
what a awful way.
There's just no way. Yeah.
No. And he was put in there because he was faking a so-called illness. So really, Jigsaw's just trying to make people like have a will to live and then stop
wasting their life.
Yeah. And using and, God, what's the word I'm trying to think of?
Taking advantage.
Patronizing and trying to, use disadvantages that some people really have to face on an everyday basis for their advantage.
Because John is dying and he's pissed.
Yeah.
Essentially. He's mad at the world because he's got a disease.
He's like, I want to live, but I can't.
Yeah.
And now all you motherfuckers who don't want to live or want to act like you have a disease when you don't, and you get to reap the benefits of being a sick person, but also a completely healthy person, you are going to die. Yep.
And he ends up, well, obviously Mark is burnt and he's dead. But at this time, I believe there was a pen that got left.
He says, all the people you burned with your act will get their revenge.
Yeah. And Jigsaw is very cryptic and sadistic. And there was a pen that was left at this crime scene.
Yep.
And they link it back to Dr. Gordon. And that's how Dr. Gordon was,
considered a suspect.
Yeah, because he worked at the hospital that he was treating John at. He happened to be John's doctor, and he is, we get this setup of him kind of instructing some new residents, some young doctors, and we meet an orderly named Zep. Yeah, and he's already weird off the bat. I'm already like, this is some fucking weird ass guy.
I was like, I don't trust him from the get.
He's trying to talk about his patient, Dr. Gordon, and then that's whenever Zep interrupts and he's like, oh, he has a name. His name's John, and he's a very interesting man.
Yeah.
I was like, this is when I was like, this is the dude that's in the middle of the floor.
Yep.
This is the dude that's in the middle of the floor.
Yeah.
I was already feeling that.
I couldn't tell. I couldn't see the man's face close enough at all to like tell that was him. So I had no clue. So whenever he stood up at the end, I was like, whenever I first saw it, I was like, oh
my God. Yeah.
And then I even kind of forgot that was the case. Yeah. Until finishing it again this morning, and then was like, oh, right. He is the person. Yeah. Because I mean, it had been such a long time since I'd seen this one. The Saw films are not ones that I've seen multiple times.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's like one and done.
Yeah. Not because I don't think that they're good films. I'm just a little squeamish apparently sometimes. So
with the gore.
Yeah. Some of them get really intense. This one was easy to get through because again, they didn't show much of the gore. But there's some that where it's like, oh God, and it like makes your body hurt. Yeah. But
torture porn.
Yep. And whenever they were also looking through, they mentioned that he was watching through a peephole.
Oh yeah.
Sorry
right.
for Mark. And that this guy likes to book a front row seats basically to his killings and watch them. So that line comes back into play later. But yeah, basically then the detectives show up to question Dr. Lawrence.
At the hospital.
Yep.
Which must
Gordon.
be pretty embarrassing for the doctor.
I know. They were like, oh, hey, you need to come in here right now.
To
and
the
then
station.
they were like, I loved whenever he was like, oh, my wife has a car today. And they were like, oh, you can ride with us.
Yeah.
I was like,
that's even worse.
That's funny.
And so they are able to tell him that they like found his pen at the crime scene. And at this point he ends up at he's downtown, I'm assuming, and he's with his lawyer, right? And he's talking to him about, you know, what his alibi was, and he doesn't even want to tell his lawyer, but apparently he was, you know,
having an affair. Yep.
And so he doesn't obviously want to say this because it's going to implicate him, and then he'll have a whole problem with this family situation, but he needs to like say this, and he ends up telling them because his lawyer says, well, bite the bullet now and just tell them, otherwise it's going to be even worse.
Yeah. And they're not going to believe you later on.
Yeah.
And then that's when we flash back to being with him in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, that was 5 months ago. And he says, he set him up, or like basically realized, that he's been set up for murder, and now he will have to murder people.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then we flash back. It does a lot of flashing in between the past and the present.
And we have them there was a victim that escaped.
Yep, we have a survivor
named Amanda, and they bring her in for questioning, basically to get like a deposition, not a deposition, but you know, what happened to you, a statement.
It looked like she had just got out of the room,
literally,
because her mouth was still like bloodied.
Yeah,
and I just was very confused by that, because I thought, okay, scarring, sure, but for it to like still be raw,
we're like, you're not going to the hospital. You are going to.
You have to actually come here and tell us everything that happened to see if we can just get a reaction out of this man, which is
yeah. They were way off as well.
They were,
but that's what John wanted though.
Yep, exactly. He had to shift the blame somehow.
Yeah, and he also just didn't like his doctor, I'm assuming, because he delivered
because
the
he's
news
the one who gave him, which is like so unfair to Dr. Gordon.
Because like he didn't do that to his body.
Yeah,
yeah.
It wasn't. He wasn't like, you know what? I think I'll just tell this man today that he's got a prefrontal lobe tumor that's inoperable.
Yeah.
Just for fun.
Or like he just chose him or something.
Yeah, and he's like, I think I'll put this in right now.
Yeah. And so she's explaining basically what happened to her, and we get the reverse bear trap, which is pretty cool.
It was cool. And we get our first look at Jigsaw too.
Oh yeah, the puppet.
Of the puppet. Yep.
Which everybody knows. Such a funny looking little thing.
Yeah.
But it also creepy.
Terrifying.
Terrifying, yeah.
Especially the way whenever he rides in on the tricycle.
Later in, yeah.
And he's just like, again, sitting up way too straight. That bothered me. Well, just in general, when anyone's riding a bike with that straight of a back, like in Friday the 13th, that man, I don't like it.
Yeah, I see what you mean. You got to have some sort of little arch.
You got to hunch a little bit.
Yeah.
It freaks me out. Yeah.
Yeah. Caitlin will take you out if she sees you riding a bike with straight up.
Yep. I'll run you over.
And so.
Not really.
It's, she basically is locked up in this reverse bear trap that's on her head, so her head will snap apart essentially.
Yeah. It'll pull the top jaw, like it basically is in between her top teeth and bottom teeth, and then it would just pull it backwards, open it up, like almost like a curb stomping, like machine. Ugh.
And that's whenever we do get to see that the only way for her to get out is to get a key, but it is,
of course,
you know, inserted into the body of another human being that she has to then cut up.
And he says the stomach of your dead cellmate.
Yeah.
So we go over there thinking that this person's dead.
But they're not.
They're
alive. Basically put into like this type of like paralysis where like they're not necessarily feeling everything. But
he couldn't move or feel. It was an opiate overdose.
Yeah,
is what they gave him.
He was awake and alive,
conscious, but couldn't move or feel anything.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess that's good at least.
But still,
but then like, knowing that it's happening
like,
to
you're
you,
still just dying and like just watching it and like, and then she's like just pulling the guts out and like trying to get this key out, the intestines and everything.
Fumbling.
And also, the way she kind of killed him was pretty brutal. She could have just like, but she was like stab.
Yeah.
Stab.
Guess she just had some some rage she needed to get out a little bit.
I don't know.
Just killed this man real good.
But she did get the key. She was able to then finally like unlatch the thing, and she did it just in the nick of time because when it fell to the ground, it popped
back. Yeah, which was terrifying.
Yeah.
The footage throughout all of this, especially whenever like she gets out of the chair, is so chaotic.
I didn't like it.
Yeah, it was so much. It felt like we were in like a heavy metal music video or something, and it was like.
Well, and it's funny because this is by James Wan, and then I just rewatched *Malignant* the other day, and he made that as well, and I was like, *Malignant* very much gives like Saw mixed with his Conjuring movies, like paranormal mixed with like the stuff that goes like aesthetically in this movie, because this movie did give like a lot of like grunge and like heavy metal music vibes, like band music videos, and there's a lot of those vibes in *Malignant*, which I think you still haven't seen, right?
No, I haven't.
Which I liked it.
I would still like to see that.
I liked it the first time I watched it, and then I liked it even more in my rewatch.
Oh, nice. Well, that's exciting for me to go watch that then.
Yeah, and so she's able to get that off, and then like we said, Mr. Puppet Jigsaw comes out riding on his tricycle all straight up and stuff.
Yep. Terrifying. Her acting here, I thought was actually pretty all right as she was crying. I was like, okay, she's doing a pretty good job here. She's working for it. And sure.
She survived essentially because she's free. But then like they're like asking her, did you, what did the captain ask her?
Because the last words Jigsaw said to her were, most people are so ungrateful to be alive, but now you're not anymore. And then they said, so what did he do to you? And she says, he helped me.
Which I was like, oh girl, she's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because they asked her like, weren't you addicted to drugs? And so what did this situation do for you? And she said, he helped me. Because now I guess she's magically
not
cured
from drugs. Yeah.
drugs.
I guess she was like going through the worst situation in her life. She was like, no more drugs. I don't know. But also at this point, I have, for some reason, Adam is stupid, and then two-way mirror. So
mine says back with Adam and Gordon now. Adam, you're fucking dumb.
Yeah.
It's a two-way mirror.
Which we find out because he accidentally broke that mirror.
Yeah.
Doing something stupid.
He was doing something stupid, broke the mirror, and they realize that they're being watched through a camera inside of that.
And someone
as
is
well.
watching them as well.
Yep.
And we hear him saying, like, don't ask me for help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Adam's yelling like, this is the most fun I've had without lubricant.
Adam's a prick.
Yeah, he is.
And this is whenever we also do see that Mr. Gordon's talking about his daughter and like the last thing he ever said to her, and then we get like a little flashback to his daughter in her bedroom, something scaring her. We see this like it was pretty freaky of like,
it was a long shot of her just looking in the corner at this like wind chime, and I was like, what is going on?
I thought someone was about to come out of the corner.
Just out of the darkness.
But it didn't really happen. But she goes to her mom because she's scared. And then they end up getting Dr. Gordon, who's working really late, and is like he doesn't pay any attention to his family. It seems like he's
definitely focused on his work.
Yeah, he's disconnected for sure. And
because the little girl's like, I want daddy to scare the man away. There's a man in my room, and I want daddy.
Which is really weird as fuck.
Yeah.
It gives very much, there's a monster outside my window. Can I have a glass of water?
Yeah.
And then they are in the bedroom. The dad is basically trying to calm his daughter down like any parent would when they're little. I don't like how he calls a foot a tootsie.
Yeah, I was like, foot equals tootsie. Don't like that.
That was weird because he's like, give me your tootsie.
And I was like, what's a tootsie? I thought butt.
Oh.
Not in a sexual way. Yeah. Like I thought he was just gonna like go to bed, like
give me your fanny so I can pat it. Yeah, it was pretty weird. No, I didn't like it, but we did the whole little toe situation, the piggies going into the market.
Yeah.
And she's basically just saying, she's asking like, are you gonna leave us? And he's having a heart to heart with her and basically trying to comfort her and saying that he's never gonna leave her. He loves her.
But then of course the pager has gone off at this point too, and she's like, I hate that thing, which was so sad because she was so young. And it's like, damn, dude, if your young daughter is like saying I hate that thing because she knows that you work so much, like that's sad.
Work so much because he fucks so much.
He's got to go with the residents.
He's got hoes.
I guess he's making them find ways to get a job.
Yeah,
Probably.
I guess so.
But then the way he says he never cheated on his wife, and I'm like, did he just go in there and chicken out every single time?
I don't know, or I didn't know if
because that was 5 months ago that he was meeting with someone.
Exactly, and he's here now, and he was just at that lady's apartment or hotel last night. It gives that he did cheated on her,
but he can't admit to it.
Yeah, he can't even admit the truth to himself because he's that much in like of
denial
a douche and like a dick.
Yeah.
Because even the argument that he has that we see with his wife later, where she's like, I would rather even just like fight with me, tell me you hate being here because you would show some passion,
some semblance of passion.
Yeah. Because she's not getting anything from him.
Exactly.
But yeah, he ends up, like I said, here we are fighting with his wife. We get this whole where she's telling him that, and then it cuts back to Adam and him in the room, and he shows him pictures of them in his wallet. And he's trying to tell him to like look at a certain picture because it is his favorite picture of his family together, but it turns out that photo is not there. And what does Adam find in its spot?
He finds a photo of Dr. Gordon's wife and kid tied up with an X marks the spot. And then it says, sometimes you see more with your eyes shut, written on the back of the photo in like a silver Sharpie.
From the host of the popular podcast, The Only One in the Room, Stash by Laura Cathcart Robbins is a propulsive and vivid memoir about the journey to sobriety and self-love amidst addiction, privilege, racism, and self-sabotage. Best-selling author Holly Whitaker calls it an irresistibly delicious story, and MacArthur Foundation fellow and best-selling author Kiese Lehman says Stash is emotionally riveting. Buy Stash by Laura Cathcart Robbins now, wherever books are sold.
Hey there, homeowners. Is it time to give your yard a complete makeover this summer? Villani Landshapers, a local family-owned business, has been transforming landscapes for more than 20 years. Villani Landshapers specializes in landscape design build, retaining walls, outdoor living spaces, and so much more. Request your free consultation today and check out their gallery of residential work at villani-landshapers.com.
But
X marks the spot.
Yep. And then Adam decides to not share this fact with Gordon, which I also do understand because that's a pretty scary thing to see. But the fact that it has a clue on it, but of course Adam's also trying to survive till 6.
I don't think any part of that was him like thinking like, I'm gonna spare this man feelings.
I think later on he says that it was, but it was probably more so he was just trying to survive.
Self-preservation.
Yeah. But we then realize that we're back at the house and the creepy man's real.
There was a fucking man in her bedroom.
Yeah, it wasn't just
like, good night, little girl.
Yeah, which was so creepy. And then,
but then doesn't even let her go to bed because he's like, rah!
Yeah, and he looks like he's covered in just a fitted sheet or something, and he's just like, wee,
like a beige fitted sheet. Because then the mom comes in after she hears her screaming,
she's like,
and she's just looking at him. Yeah,
and he's like wiggling around. It just looked so comical.
Yeah, it really did.
Yeah,
and they end up getting tied up. And that's when we do like see the dude walking around in there, and already I can tell I'm like, this is a fucking orderly.
Yeah, I was like, this is Zepp. Yeah, I could tell that was Zepp for sure. And Zepp just gave sus vibes from the beginning, which I think it was intended for you to think it was Zepp the whole time.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I think they do a pretty good job of.
At throwing it all at
especially if you did put 2 and 2 together that was John. You could have just thought, well, Zepp decided to kill that guy.
Yeah. And
then that's why he's dead in the middle of the floor kind of thing.
Yeah. It very much painted the light on him like he was the bad guy.
Yeah.
The mastermind.
It definitely did.
Because he's got the wife and the daughter tied up. And at this
he
point...
pulls out the stethoscope, which was like, I was like, and then he checks their heartbeats to see how quickly they race once a gun is held to their head.
Which mine would
terrifying.
Probably be
mine
like,
would be like,
yeah, popping out of my chest. If I hadn't already passed out. And
for real.
Yeah, guns are so scary, man. And so that's whenever we do have him also looking out of the windows as well to the street, and we see that someone else is watching him.
Yep.
It's a lot of like
people watching
other people watching people.
Yeah.
Because someone is watching him, and that's whenever you're like, oh wait, what's going on with that?
What?
And that's whenever we realize that it's the fucking captain, the freaking cop from before, who is watching him, and he still thinks that Dr. Gordon is the killer.
Yep. He's still hung up on that, and he couldn't let him go.
Yeah.
And we see that he just looks, that embodiment of the red strings tied to every single thing. He's got newspaper clippings up on the wall, and he's clearly just like living in this little hole, just watching. Which is so like he's gone off the rails a little bit.
Yeah, he very much has. He's lost it all because he's like hyper obsessing over this whole case.
Yeah,
because we do see that it transitions back to him going like leaving Dr. Gordon that day that they had the whole clearing of his alibi and stuff, and even then he was still like, I'm gonna get you, basically.
I'm gonna get you.
Yeah. And he is losing his mind, kind of going over the tapes and everything that happened with Amanda and the other tapes, and even his partner at this point is just basically being like, you need a girlfriend, like you need to get out of here. Like was already seeing like he was worried about him.
Yeah. Because he was like, basically, all the other cops were going down for a beer and stuff, and Singh invited him to go.
Yeah.
But then that was when he was like, no, I'm just going to keep watching this a few more times. Yeah. And then that's when he makes the girlfriend comment, and he definitely cares about his partner and stuff.
For sure.
And then he's on his way out whenever Tap notices something.
He finally notices something on the screen, and I couldn't, was it like a graffiti tagging, right?
Yeah. K2K gang territory is what it ended up being, because they realized, and then he can ever so slightly hear an alarm going off in the back of the video, and it leads them to look up the K2K gang territory's like radius, basically, and where they operate. And then they find that, and they like cross-reference it with where the alarms have been activated within the last couple of weeks.
Yep.
And they notice that there is one place
where it overlaps. Yeah.
And it's this old mannequin factory, because of fucking course it's a mannequin factory.
Yeah. And I guess that's where they make a million little jigsaw guys.
Yep.
And so they end up being able to like, and I love how the partner is like, okay, well, call it in and we'll get a warrant. And he's like, oh wait, no, we're going now.
We're going right now.
Yeah. And so they do pull up, and really fast they stumble upon a workshop.
Yeah.
And they're like, whoa, what the fuck is all this?
I know, yeah, like not hidden in the slightest.
Not at all. But we do see like basically the jigsaw puppet once it's revealed, and then like torture mechanisms and stuff like that.
Yeah, as well as miniatures of the scenes.
Oh, that's right.
He's got it planned out. So we see that even 5 months ago, basically, because I'm assuming this was roughly around the same time, because Tap's throat had time to heal.
Yeah, exactly.
So this
is what leads up to him getting his throat slashed. Yeah.
And so this is roughly 5 months ago. So even that far in advance, he was planning out, because we saw the miniature of them in the bathroom. Yeah.
And so, which is really, it's cool, but also crazy. And so we do have them finding that, but then they hear someone move underneath like this red hooded cloak thing.
Yep.
And they pull it off, and it's a man who's just like in this device of a chair.
With like it basically looked like drills or like screws that would go
the point
into his throat.
Very Frankenstein. And so also death. And so we have them finding all that, but then we have someone coming up. So they're like, fuck. And the partner's like, okay, this is it. But then the Cap is like, no, you know what? We're going to hide because I need to see this motherfucker.
Yeah.
We're not just going to shoot him and take him out.
They should have just shot him and taken him out.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Because real fast we have John coming up, but they don't know who he is at this point because he's pretty hooded, and he's talking to his victim, and he's basically saying, you know, you're a part of a trial or a test or something like that.
He says you're a test subject. He says, don't cry. I've given your life a purpose. You're a test subject for something bigger than yourself.
And then the cops pop out.
Yep.
And that's whenever John is able to like hit a little button with his foot, and it sets off the machine.
Yep.
And then here we go. We've got them playing his fucking game.
Yep. He's got him right in the palm of his hand.
Yeah, literally, because he's making them like, you know, get this key set and then try to open up
you
a
just
lock.
have to get it off the key, but of course it's like a key ring that's filled with like 1,000 keys.
Literally. And
like, it's easy.
They're not, and at this point I'm just like, can we just shoot him, because they have him there in front of them?
Yeah, and then just
he's not doing anything. Then oh man, I hate it because Cap, what's his name? Tap.
Yeah.
He essentially gets distracted for about 2 seconds, and then he gets his neck fucking sliced.
Slit.
Oh, it's
which
so
was
sad.
like, oh my God.
I thought he was dead.
I thought
at
he
that
was
point.
too.
But then yeah. Then it makes sense that like, oh shit, no, because we're seeing back into the past.
Yeah.
He's obviously still alive. But we do see his neck get slit, and then that's whenever John runs off, and his partner is able to stop the machine before it kills that one dude that was up there.
He just shoots the little things and makes them stop going off.
I guess. And then he chases after Jigsaw. Who
which
ends
was
up running down like an alley.
very sad.
Yeah, and then he almost gets him, and he ends up kind of like shooting him down.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever he's walking closer, he crosses a
booby
trap,
Yeah,
and
trips
gets
a wire.
shot from above him with like these shotguns, just all of them, and all up into his body, and he just like falls over and dies, which was pretty sad.
It was really sad because he was funny. He was the one who made the comic. Well, you can just ride with us. Like, he was kind of comical, and stuff. While Tap's very like serious,
and like he really cared about Tap as well. So you're like, oh man, and you know that they probably had a pretty like serious bond, being partners and stuff.
Oh, definitely.
Because then even Tap is like trying to run down to get to him, and he sees that he's dead, and he's like,
yeah,
you know, and then it goes to this very the grayscale frame.
Oh yeah.
And that's whenever we cut back to like now, and this is how we see that. Well, at this point, Tap has now lost his mind because, you know, he lost his partner, and he's trying to basically avenge him. And
he's
also,
like talking to him. He's like, we're going to close this case, sing, and basically like, you know, just acting as if he's still there kind of with him. Or, you know, I think it's maybe not so much that. I think it's more so just like, I still talk to Kitty sometimes, you know, and I'm like.
But you're also not in an apartment with murder
pages
true. All over the wall.
I think he
and
definitely
like
is
following
crazy.
people. Yeah. And you're still functioning, highly functioning crazy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And so we do come back with Adam in the bathroom, and he's holding that picture with the X marks the spot on it. And the Dr. Gordon is kind of yelling at him and being like, you know, what are you looking at? What's going on?
Yeah.
Like, you need to help me try to get out of here.
Because he's not being secret. Like, he's not doing a good job of actually hiding it.
No, he's not. And Gordon
he's doing a good job of looking like he's trying to hide something while looking at it.
And Gordon is basically just like, help me do something. Like, help me try to figure this out, you know? Yeah. And then Adam is just like, well, turn off the lights. Just turn off the lights for me.
And he's like, why? And then he's like, no, I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah. So super shady and stupid. And they turn off the lights. And we do see that there's like glow in the dark paint on the wall that makes an X mark on this like brick. And so Dr. Gordon immediately is able to like, you know, get through it, and he finds a little black box in there with the key, but it's locked because it needs a key to open it up. But
then they remember the original key from inside his pocket.
Exactly. And
they get it open, and they find what?
They find two cigarettes.
Yep.
A little note, a lighter, right?
Yes, and a cell phone.
And a cell phone, yes.
And then the little note says, the cigarettes are harmless, I promise. Smoking is only poisonous when it ends in bloodshed. Think about this. You don't need a gun to kill Adam. And basically that's implying that you can use the blood that's filled with poison.
That's from the dude that's in the middle of the room.
Yep.
Yeah. And we also have him trying to call 911, but he then very quickly finds out that the phone is only meant to receive calls, not make calls.
Which that is technically a goof. So 3 different tones can be heard, and he says that the cell phone has been blocked from making calls. However, FCC rules require every telephone that can access the network to be able to dial 911, regardless of any reason that normal service may have been disconnected, including deactivated or blocked phones.
Oh, interesting.
Yep. So technically, they could have still called the police.
911.
Yeah. But that's fine. Yeah. We don't need that for the
Hollywood,
movie.
baby.
Yep.
And so that's whenever we have him remembering, because I guess the phone noise sound reminded him of how he ended up in this room, and he's reminded of how he was walking after work last night and how he thinks he saw someone, and then he's like going to a phone to use a phone, and we see someone getting out of his car in like a red jacket and like a pig mask,
which was terrifying because we saw the pig mask earlier whenever the 2 detectives went into the mannequin factory. But seeing it on someone is entirely different. That was terrifying because especially just
the way that that person got out of the vehicle as well.
Yeah,
it was scary
because you're watching it unfold from one of those like big circular kind of helps you see around the corner mirrors.
Parking garage mirrors, yeah.
And like in the autopsy of Jane Doe and stuff, like that's in hospitals.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And you just see this person like slide out of the car, and they've got this long, stringy black hair over the face. This was
honestly the creepiest part of the entire movie to me.
Yeah, like it was really creepy, and it was terrifying. And then whenever the pig rushes him, it's like, oh,
yeah,
oh.
And that's how we see that he was basically attacked by a pig-faced person, and that's how he was put into this situation.
Yep.
And then he finally does the smart thing and starts asking Adam again about like, wait, why did you tell me about the lights?
Yep.
And Adam finally shares the photo.
Yeah.
Which he then tries to explain that like, oh, I was just trying not to like, hurt your feelings or like make you worried about your family, but it was obviously self-preservation.
Yeah, exactly. And then this is where he decides, you know what? Nah. He dips a cigarette in the blood, but then he comes up with a plan. But of course, as we know, he didn't actually keep it a secret from the mastermind because the mastermind was in the room.
In the room.
Yeah.
And the mastermind probably already accounted for this. But anyways, he does turn off the lights and they try to whisper a plan of action. And when the lights come back on, essentially he gives a cigarette to Adam, and Adams pretends to then die from using the said cigarette,
and his death the most so bad.
Yeah, so bad, man. Like the worst.
I was like, boy, you are
seen.
Not convincing in the slightest. You look like somebody trying to act like they're trying to die poorly.
Which really even to me felt like, man, okay. At this point, I was still even thinking like Adam's in on it at some point. Like, why is he acting out like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So bad. But he's on the floor and he's trying to pretend like he's dead, but he ends up getting electrocuted.
Yeah. And basically he electrocuted him just to show that no, he's not dead.
Yeah.
And I wonder if John had something there at that point in time, or if he gave him like a contingency plan of like double check to make sure that this fool's dead kind of thing. If in the event that he smokes a cigarette or something.
Or fakes it. Yeah. That makes sense. And we do have Adam coming back to, and he's like, I remember everything now.
Yeah. I guess the electrocution helped jog his memory a bit, because we figure out that Adam's a photographer, and we see him getting home, going into a dark room, and apparently he's taking photos of Gordon. And this is where we're like, oh.
He's been following him around.
Yep. Everywhere. Yeah, because there's quite a few photos of him. And then we wake up with him in the dark room, and the dark room light is off.
Yeah.
And he takes Oh, this right. I was like, takes photos to light up the room. What does that mean? Yeah, he's taking photos, which reminded me of like VHS.
Excuse me. Yes.
The OG, right?
Yeah, the OG.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. I get all of them mixed up now.
The one where the girl's like an alien or whatever, and she's pregnant.
Oh yeah.
Also in the movie, it was something about like, it was like a Zoom call basically. It was a very 2020 movie. They were talking about the pandemic and stuff, but there's a instant in that film. It's on Shudder. It was a Shudder original.
I was like, did I watch it?
No, we didn't cover it.
Okay.
But I was just thinking of that film. It also uses the photos to light up the room and stuff like that. But yep, he's taking photos to light up the room because all of his lights are off.
Yeah. Oh, it gives also, there's another movie. Shudder.
Oh yeah.
With
like
the
Shutter.
ghost. Yeah. The ghost one. Yeah.
I like that film. At least I think I did. I think I remember not liking the ending. I think it has
Joshua Jackson in it, I think. The dude from Dawson's Creek.
Oh.
Maybe. But anyways, I digress.
Eventually we should cover that
and
film.
So yeah. He's kind of almost like a private eye kind of situation, but not, I guess, a professional private eye.
A hired creep
guy. Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Creep for hire.
Because we do have him then ending up in the room, right? And then it calls. I just have my next note is the phone call from the daughter and the wife.
Okay, yeah. So as he's going through taking photos throughout his apartment, we run into Jigsaw because all of a sudden there's this like creepy mechanical laughter, like ha 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 ha. Not like that at all, but just coming, like, and it's terrifying. And he turns around and Jigsaw's sitting there in his like little lazy boy, just chilling, and he's like remarkably unfazed. He was kind of at first like, oh fuck, and then he was just kind of like, okay. And I was like, sir, you should be questioning this doll more.
This is a normal day in the life for you.
I guess so. Yeah, for me it is.
All the dolls.
But then he goes and he hears something coming from the closet or something. And so he's taking flashes over there, opens the door, and out pops the pig head.
Pig face. And he also gets snatched.
Yep. And then that's when we are back in the room. It's almost 6. We see according to the clock, and the phone rings.
And it's a phone call from his wife and daughter.
Yep.
And his daughter sounds really distressed.
Yeah, she does. She was acting for her life here.
She was.
Because she says, the bad man from my room is here, and he has us tied up, and he has a gun.
Yeah, and Gordon's just like, hey, and trying to call to his wife, and like nobody's really responding. But then finally his wife is trying to talk to him, and it's whenever he's talking to her that she says, is Adam there?
Yes. And he was like, what? How do you know him?
And she just says, whatever you do, don't believe the lies that he tells you.
Yep. He knows you. He knows he knew all about you before today. And then that's whenever he asks Adam, because the phone gets disconnected.
Yeah, that's right.
And he's like, do you know me? And Adam's the worst fucking liar on the face of the planet.
Even Dr. Gordon is just like, you're the worst liar.
You're really bad at this.
Yeah. And he's like, how do you know me?
And then he's like, okay, you got me.
Yeah. Because real fast, he's just like, well, I followed you to that shit motel or hotel, whatever.
Don't you remember having a picture taken of you in the parking lot?
That's right.
And it was like, and he's like, I've been taking pictures of you for a few days now. I take pictures of rich men like you who like to fuck their secretaries. And it's like, okay, dude, we get it.
Adam's so full of shit.
Man.
Yeah, because he's bringing up how he followed him and he saw him go to this one hotel with the lady. And this is the lady that we see him meeting up. And I guess he was supposed to have an affair with her, but he ends up like chickening out. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically ends up not doing it. And then all of a sudden, while they're in there, though, they get a phone call.
They get a phone call, and it's from this person, and it's like, I know what you're doing, doctor.
Yep. And it was like, oh, okay. And
definitely
then
freaked him out.
Then this is where we flash back to the real time, and he's saying, okay, well, who paid you to do this? And he was like, I don't know. He called himself Bob, and he paid cash up front. That's all I know. And so at first you're thinking, oh, it's like Jigsaw kind of thing.
I know, that's what I was thinking. I thought it was John.
Yeah. And then he was like, well, what does he look like? And he's like, I don't know. He was a tall black man. And then
with the scar on his neck.
With the scar on his neck. And he was like, Tap, Agent Tap. Yep. Or an ex-detective. And it was Tap who had paid him to take the photos and trail him to see where in the world he was whenever he couldn't leave his apartment, I guess. He needed someone on the outside.
Yep. And which would have been his partner, but his partner was dead. And so that's whenever we do have then Adam like being like, I don't care what you do in that hotel. I don't care if you have a peanut butter hooker gangbang.
Yeah, 15. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly. And then this is where Gordon finally tells him, like, you're not a victim in this game. You're a part of it. Or does Adam tell him that? Someone says that line.
He says that to Adam.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then that's whenever we see that it's also 6 p.m.
Yep. And this little girl, that's where I said she was acting for her life. And we get finally the reveal that it is in fact Zepp, the orderly. Even though we knew that the whole time. But he's out of time. And he comes in and he tells Allie, Dr. Gordon's time is up and it has to be you who tells him he failed.
Yeah.
So what do?
The mom was this whole time also untying herself from the bedpost. So then mom is able to then get up and attack Zepp, right?
Yep.
And then she's able to kind of basically knock him to the ground, and she's able to get the gun and get control for a little bit.
I love the way she goes, you failed. Bam.
Yeah.
I was like, hell yeah, bitch.
I love
Get him.
I was like,
Get
mom
him.
is a badass.
Yeah.
And then she's able to get the phone and she's talking to Gordon. And as she's talking to him, I forget how it happens, but he's able to get the up on her, right? Because
he like attacks her. Yeah. Something happens.
She gets distracted for a second.
I think the little girl says like mommy or something like that. And she, mommy instincts kicked in, was like, gotta help my baby. And then he attacks her and the gun goes off. Thankfully, it doesn't hit anyone, but it does alert Tap that something's going on over there.
And then fucking Gordon's losing his mind.
Yes, he is, because he's on the line still. He can just hear
the gunfire,
the shots, the screams. He can hear everything, and he's just losing his mind. You're right.
And that's whenever we do have the orderly. And because Tap comes over at that point and he starts to get into an altercation with the Zepp.
And the mom stabbed Zepp in the leg too.
Oh yeah.
While the whole scuffle wasn't going on, she gets into her dresser drawer at one point and then just goes right into his leg, which was awesome.
And then Tap's having a shootout with him. And
the way he hid behind that tiny pole.
Yeah.
That cracked me up. The pole was like this big and he was like,
that's it. Suck it in. Don't breathe.
Sir, you need to just be your spine to hide behind that.
And we do have the orderlies. Oh, Zepp. I keep wanting to call him an orderly, but Zepp ends up getting a shot on poor freaking Tap.
Yeah.
Ends up because it almost seems like Tap has the upper hand, but then Zepp ends up shooting him from like from the bottom, right?
Yep. Yeah, he does. Oh,
being on the ground.
Whenever they actually get into the place.
Oh, where Gordon's at.
Yeah, because while all that's happening and Zepp runs off, Gordon now gets electrocuted. But he's not dead, thankfully. And then this is where Tap follows Zepp to the warehouse. But you're right, and Lawrence is still losing his mind. And this is where Lawrence is like, I'm going to chop my fucking foot off.
Oh,
and
you're
so motherfucker just starts sawing. He starts sawing away.
Yeah.
And then this is where Tap finally catches up to Zepp.
Because there was that whole car chase scene.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, there was.
They're in the car and they're just like...
Very, again, action like cop film.
Yeah.
But then, yes, that's right. He it seemed like he had it in the bag because he got the gun away from Zepp or whatever, disarmed him. But then as he was on the ground, he messed up for 1 second. And Zepp got him from on that ground and it shot into his stomach, abdominal area.
And you just see Tap falling back. Yeah.
Yeah, which was like, no, you worked
After
so
all of that.
hard.
Yeah.
And now you're still, you got so close, but also not, because Zep's not the person. Ugh. But then this is where Gordon, I was like, Adam, no.
Finally has his leg chopped off.
Yep, chops his leg off, and he puts the one bullet in the chamber, crawls towards Adam, and he says, "You have to die."
And I love how Adam's
my family.
like, no, don't do it. And then and also Dr. Lawrence Gordon looks really freaking sickly.
He looks so sickly.
Oh, so bad,
he also
man.
a little bit looked like Will Ferrell covered in like flour.
I could see that. Yeah.
There's just something about the way his face looked at the time. I was like, you look like Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell covered in flour.
Yep.
But he ends up shooting Adam.
He does. He shoots him, thankfully, and he shoots him in a manner that keeps him alive because he's a doctor. He knows.
How.
It's like Show Me Where from Crimson Peak. But yeah, so he shoots him, but Adam is not dead, and Zep comes in at this moment, right?
Yeah. And that's whenever he comes in, and then he's about to attack Dr. Gordon.
Yeah, because he ran out of time, and he was like, it's
still
the
past
rules.
6. Yeah.
Yeah. So you still have to die, basically. And then this is where Adam just goes fucking ham.
Pops up and starts beating the fuck out of Zep with the
tank of the
top
water.
Thing. Yeah.
What's it called? Toilet.
The toilet tank top.
Toilet tank top.
Yeah.
Toilet
porcelain.
tank top. It's just a
you
little.
Can kill people with those things.
I'm imagining a toilet wearing a tank top now.
Yeah. Get your toilet tank top for just $9.99. And just getting his head bashed in.
Tank top that looks
but we
like
also don't see it
for maternity clothes.
Yeah. Oh, God. But
that would be
work.
A perfect maternity Halloween costume. It's just the toilet.
The toilet. Are you equating pregnancy to toilet?
I am. You
I'm
have
sure
to throw up a lot.
That's what I was about to say. But Adam kills Zep. I'm assuming.
I'm assuming he. If not, I think he gets him pretty dead.
And we have all that happening, and I guess at the same time, Dr. Gordon is able to.
He's like, I have to go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come back. I'll promise I'll come back with help. And he's looking so pale here.
I don't think he's gonna make it, but he ends up making it out of the room, I guess.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
He was looking so pale, it almost made me nauseous looking at how pale his lips were. Because I was like, oh God, he must feel so sick. And it made
losing
me
all
like
that blood.
Yeah.
I didn't see him make a tourniquet for himself at all.
He tried with his outer shirt.
Okay.
And he tried turning that around his leg, but it's just a t-shirt. It's not a legit tourniquet. So he knew like, I'm going to bleed out and die if we don't get help like now, which of course too, with how far Tap had to chase Zep down, they're really far down
in
there.
an isolated area.
Yeah.
So,
and it said raw sewage too, was like around the area, which is like, oh
infections.
God. Yep.
You're dead.
Galore.
It's going to get in the bloodstream. And so we have him getting out. But then obviously there's got to be a twist.
Yep.
There's got to be a twist.
Always got to be a twist. And
because Adam's just there, kind of like being like fucked. And then we do see the body, the old man getting up, rising off the floor.
Yep. We realize that Zep was made to do this too, because he finds
the tape recorder
in Zep's pocket. Yep. And then he's like, oh my God. And he listens to the tape basically. And then we realize dead guy isn't dead. He faked it the whole time. He rips off the prosthetics, making him look like his brains were blown out. And I love the way he gets up and he was like, that key went down that key. That was your way to unlock that chain. Yeah. And he was just...
That would have been your way out.
Yeah. The whole time he's just like, you
dumbass.
You only had to do this kind of thing. But it went down. You let it go down the drain.
Yeah.
Yep. You let your life go down the drain. What a metaphor.
I feel... yeah. And poor Adam is just being left because then John is like, time's up, game's over, and is walking out, and Adam's just screaming as he's walking out of the room. And at the same time, we get the montage of like,
it's showing us that John,
everything that happened and transpired,
has the inoperable prefrontal lobe tumor, and it basically flashes through the whole movie. And he says, we get the line again, most people are so ungrateful to be alive, but not you, not anymore. And he says, game over. And he slams the door shut, and it ends with Adam screaming in the darkness.
Yep.
I thought that was actually a really good ending.
Pretty
I loved the
ending.
ending. I thought it was pretty perfect ending to it. I love the way that he closed the door. It very much reminded me of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre whenever he like slams that tinfoil looking door shut.
After he gets the boyfriend.
Yeah.
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 The first victim.
It reminded me of that a little bit.
Oh, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah. Anyways, that's a 2004 Saw. What'd you think?
There was a lot, actually, because it's all still fresh. I just watched it. So.
Oh, you did say you didn't like the music as much, which
I didn't
is
like the
true.
music. That's right. Well, it just at no, at all points.
Like
I didn't really care for the music.
overbearing.
It was overbearing, and then especially when they were just in the restroom, in that little, like the beginning of the movie, there would be like this music playing, but it just didn't feel like the right type of music. That's all.
No, it didn't. It just felt very action film.
Yeah. Yeah.
And or like a trailer. At one point I asked you, oh, are you watching an ad? Yeah. Because I literally thought a fucking trailer was playing, and I thought it was like, in the beginning, there was blah, blah, blah.
There was the legit movie.
Yeah.
So yeah. Other than that, I thought it was a pretty good story. I thought it was pretty cool, like that they had him, basically the killer was there in plain sight in front of the two people the entire time. It's it's a mix of a lot of things, like an escape room, like you said, and like a whodunit, and like a crime cop genre type of movie film.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff going into play with it. I feel like I'm not as in love as I thought I wanted or was going to be in with it.
Yeah.
But I'm not disappointed. I think there was a lot of hype, I thought.
Yeah.
It was a lot different than I thought going into it.
It was a lot different than I remember.
I just didn't expect it being so like crime cop movie driven. I don't know why I didn't know that about it.
The next ones are
Same
less
thing. Oh, okay.
Driven in that way. I think it's more like we were talking about. It's more just like torture porn, basically. A lot more gore, a lot more blood, stuff like that.
Which
you get a little bit.
I guess is synonymous with the franchise, so that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, and so I think we get more into that realm with 2 and 3. I was realizing I have seen Saw 5. I think I saw Saw 5 in theaters, and that might be the one with the leg twisting that I was talking about.
Gotcha.
But I don't remember. They all bleed together in my brain. And I've definitely seen Saw. I definitely had seen Saw 1, and I think I've seen Saw 2. I don't know if I've seen 3 ever. So I'm excited to go into it and see it as well.
See how they all start to work together. I know nothing, so I don't know if they are the same story continued or not, or what. But I would give first Saw, a solid 3.
Solid 3.
A 3, right in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like it was like the best movie I'd ever seen in the world.
Oh yeah.
But it wasn't the worst. I guess I feel like it's really interesting. I kind of feel like I would have liked this maybe if it was even more like a series as opposed to just a movie, because I feel like there's a lot
where
that
you could get
been,
each of the deaths,
like an hour episode long, and them trying to get to rush to it, but they never get to it in time, and then it culminates in this big old 8 limited series episode, So I don't know. But
that would have been really cool.
Right?
Of course they weren't really doing that in 2004.
Yeah.
But missed opportunity for Mr. I'm sure this was probably much more a great monetary means for him.
Yeah. This was Saw was pretty lucrative. That's why they had 7, 8 more that came from it.
Exactly.
But I feel like that's why I feel like maybe I would have enjoyed it more. But other than that, I mean, it's a pretty good film. There's a lot of big ideas that are in this film. And I think that it's always better to take a big swing and a big risk and get some payoff than to make a really boring or just really predictable movie
or safe
movie. It was cool. I liked it. It was pretty cool. And I remember, at least for the time and when it came out as well, it was very much cultural reset in horror, because at that point now it became its own type of set of movies and genre, and
definitely.
But people then are now like expecting that of horror films.
Yeah, I would agree.
Mm-hmm.
I think I give it a 3.5.
3.5.
Yeah, 3.5 is about where I'm sitting. Overall, I thought it was a really great film. Pretty easy to get through. Actually, really easy to get through. It's only an hour and like 43 minutes.
Well, I will say too, this movie, like, you have to pay attention the entire way through.
Yeah.
Because I was noticing, I was like, oh, blinked and I totally missed like a plot point.
Yes,
or like
exactly.
a clue or something, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much like Escape Room and stuff like that, where you have to pay attention. Otherwise, you've missed something
like,
major.
oh, how did they get here?
Yeah. And so I personally do enjoy films like that make you have to pay attention the whole time. I don't want one that's going to make me be like, okay, I didn't need every hour and 43 minutes of this film was pretty relevant to the film, which was awesome. I will agree. The music was not great.
Yeah.
It was too much, way too much. And I was a little let down that there was less gore, but it was also very tasteful. I felt like the way that they did show it. And it's fucking dark as hell. It's so dark.
Yeah,
Very
I feel
twisted.
like a lot of parts of it were very dark. Like
just the whole
both
idea.
lighting and idea. Yeah. It was very gritty kind of film. Like, it felt very like Grindhouse almost.
Yeah, which was exciting. Yeah. Oh, we should cover The Green Room.
Never seen it. Never heard of it, but I'll look into it.
Oh.
Yeah. But the Green Room. Yeah,
it's
we're getting a
film.
thumbs up. We'll have to look. We'll have to put it on the list.
Yeah.
But yeah, this movie reminds me of like Saw. Reminds me of like, there was this game that we used to have for our Sega Dreamcast. But I forget the name of it, and it was basically like a fighting game. And there's this one like setting where it was like kind of like a grind house, like meat house packing district type of like setting, and you would fight in it. But that's what this whole film reminds me of for some reason.
Yeah, it does look like a meat house, like kind of pack. Yeah. I think it's just because of the like tiled walls and everything like that too. And also, you never see a bathroom that really is like that set up.
Yeah,
it was very bizarre. I mean,
it was all a set.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it was like he built it just for this little thing. Yeah, but so there you have it, a 3 and a 3.5. So a 3.25 from your booze for Saw.
We'll see if the other ones can get a higher rating from me.
Yeah,
or maybe they'll get a lower rating.
Maybe we never know.
But as always, we're in the lovely Reg Media Network studio.
That's right. They take great care of us, and you can listen to us or any of the other amazing podcasts on this network at one central place, which is
RegMediaNetwork.com.
That's right. And then if you want to listen to us, you can also do so on a slew of podcasting platforms, the biggest two being
Spotify
and also Apple. But wherever you do listen, don't forget to
rate, review, like, and subscribe.
That's right, because that is the only way we can get ahead in this world. And then if you want to reach out and let us know your thoughts on Saw, or just let us know a listener request or anything like that, or any of the films we've covered thus far. It doesn't matter if it was the very first film we've covered and you've just now started listening and you're like, I want to tell you my thoughts on The Exorcist. Please tell us your thoughts on The Exorcist. Yep. I want to know them.
So do I.
Yep. So you can reach out to us on our one social media platform, and that is Instagram at
Boobays Podcast, and that's BOOBAES, because we're your boobays, not your boobabes.
That's right. And until next time, you guys.
Bye, bays.
Bye, bays. Bye.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.